Okay, yeah.
I'm recording,
right. Yeah.
so we can start anytime. Johnny, welcome to this episode, Johnny Golden Secrets.
Yeah, so today we're going to be doing 3 parts. The first one, and this is dealing, because it's October 7th, with both Israel and Palestine and the politics. But the first part, we want to make it more, not exactly light, but make it more personal. So I'm calling it Memories, which is personal memories. Here we go. Part 1, Memories.
So Johnny, tell me about 1969. You are 18, first time to Israel. What surprised you the most?
Yeah, Israel was somewhere between a second world and a third world country at the time. Like the central bus station where we got off in Tel Aviv, complete chaos. Telephones, you had to use a special coin. It wasn't a regular coin, a special thing. And basically, you can imagine the connection on the phones. And the first person I call is a distant relative. Speaks no English, speaks Yiddish, but I don't speak that. And I'm not speaking Hebrew yet. But it worked out somehow. It actually worked out. But the whole scene was like really intense, really, really intense. And I like intensity, but it was a little confusingly intense. But at least I had a friend with me. Yes, I had a friend with me. He didn't go with me to my relatives, though, I don't think. But there was a lot of worldism still in Israel already. You know, a lot of third worldism still in Israel, which leads me to the story about ice cubes. Now, how many people have ever told a story about ice cubes? What do you think, Johans?
Well, I remember Gabriel Garcia Marquez.
He did?
In 100 years of solitude.
Oh, that's right.
The father took his son to know the ice.
That's right, to learn about ice cubes. Well, he wasn't there, and I think economic development is actually very dependent on ice cubes. Because, so if we parody the idea, the issue around the world is that ice cubes are problems, especially in the third world. The ice cube thing is you can't get a lot of ice cubes. Like in Israel, you couldn't. Even when you ask for it, for a drink in a restaurant or whatever, and you ask for water, yeah, they'll bring you water, but no ice cube. So you ask for a Coke or something, no ice cubes. And you have to then fight with them, and they'll bring you 1 or 2 ice cubes. So I see that this is reducing, diminishing, or interfering with the capacity to get your thirst quenched. It's a hot country. It's a humid country, especially in the summer. And we arrived in the summer. And therefore, when it's hot and humid, it's hard to get the energy to go back into the
So, Johnny, you weren't going to leave because of ice cubes?
It sounds weird, doesn't it? Did I go all the way to Israel and then leave because of lack of ice cubes? What does that sound like? Oh, it's crazy. No, hell no. The women soldiers in the tight miniskirts at the central bus stations were just too much for me, meaning I couldn't leave when they were there. We idolized them. We were hoping we can find a way to get to them, but of course we couldn't. They were about the same age as us, and they carried Uzis. Oh. All of you know Uzis. And they were probably reserve soldiers, and were either on their way to the base or on their way home. Yeah, everybody on Shabbat, all reserve soldiers go home on Shabbat, male and female. Every central bus station was filled with them in every city. It was just one example of the sensuality and sexuality that kept me there.
Any experience beyond looking, Johnny?
You mean looking at these women?
Yeah.
Well, another memory of even more personal memory of sensuality was a Yemenite woman. So they call them Yemenites. They're actually women, people from Yemen. And the whole Jewish community, which had been in Yemen for thousands of years, and they're very special, they were airlifted to Israel after 1948. Pretty much no Yemeni Jews were left in Yemen. And they have a special understanding. They're especially admired in a lot of ways, like the arts, the creative arts and crafts and so forth, but other things, and they are gorgeous. So they have these taxis in Israel called sharotim, which means service. And they're like taxis of Uber, and then it's shared, okay? Way before Uber. And there's a route back from Haifa to Tel Aviv, which is one straight route along the coast, the Mediterranean coast. And I think it was a route used for prostitution.
Oh.
So I guess the driver must be involved with it, right? So he picks up Mizrahi women in general. Mizrahi means Eastern. I believe they're the most beautiful ones. They're from Mizrahi. They're from Beirut. I'm sorry, they're from Morocco, Iraq, Yemen, other places like that. And he picks up these gorgeous young women somewhere. He picked her up, and I'm in the car. She gets and sits right next to me.
Wow.
She's got this very tight purple suede miniskirt on.
Favorite color.
Yeah, I know. She didn't know that. Which she pulls up, shows these gorgeous brown legs, and she looks at me with a big smile and calls me Motek.
Motek?
Which means honey or sweetie. Of course. Of course. In my typical fantasy world, I thought I was going to be able to meet up with her, but we didn't have cell phones. So I pined for her for a few days. Women on the kibbutzim, in some cases, were very sexy also, in a different way. They were strong and powerful, wearing tight shorts, not tight skirts, and they were Ashkenazi Jews. I mean, descendants of Ashkenazi Jews. But they were tougher than we were. And by and large, I felt that they looked down on us.
So, Johnny, hey.
Yeah.
Isn't Israel and Jerusalem the world center of Judaism? Not just sexy Gemini woman in taxis?
Well, which is more important? Well, and that's a dramatic story, too. Another memory involves music and spirituality. So, and this involves both. We got kicked off the first kibbutz. I won't tell that whole story. And we're wandering around. This is me and 3 friends, 4 of us, 4 guys, American Jewish guys, trying to decide where to go next. And we end up in Tel Aviv one night late, and we're standing in front, at the time, of the most, I think, expensive, prominent hotel on the Mediterranean. So Tel Aviv, Haifa, and other cities are on the Mediterranean. It's right behind. And Israel's a long coastline, and these are public beaches, but they're not really an exciting coastline with mountains like Italy or Greece or things like that. But it's a nice coastline with nice sand. And the Mediterranean Sea is called Yam HaTichon. Yam HaTichon. Yam means sea.
Okay.
Anyway, we go to this hotel right on the coastline, right on the Mediterranean, and we're standing around. We're not inside, because we don't have the money to pay for it. And we're hoping like crazy that somebody will find us a place to stay. There's something magical thinking, right? So there are 4 of us, me and 3 guys, all the same age, and we stood in front and started playing American pop songs, Fred on guitar, and hoped we could convince the powers to let us stay for free or much less money. And then I think they said something about, why don't you hang out here till somebody comes? I'm not sure they said that, but at 1:30 in the morning, person pulls up in a limousine, and it's the person that I've been wanting to meet since I saw him on the cover of a recent Jerusalem Post, which is the English language paper, Sunday magazine section. His name, Rabbi Shlomo Carlebach, considered a hippie rabbi. But that's just a slogan. He was actually a Hasidic Holocaust survivor from Germany. But he was not stuck in the mold of other Hasidim. He was a man building bridges. And he reached out all over the world to young people in particular. He had a place in San Francisco during the height of the Haight-Ashbury hippie scene called the House of Love and Prayer. Pretty good name, right?
Yeah.
He said we couldn't stay with him in a suite, but we could sleep out on the Mediterranean and come up the next morning for pre-Shabbat, because the next day would be Shabbat, which doesn't start till the evening, ritual gathering. It was now Friday morning. And after we spent the night, I have to say this, on the beach, it was hard to sleep. We did not have sleeping bags. I think we just had towels. And I remember Ronnie, my best friend, gets up at about 6 in the morning and he's laughing hysterically. I said, "What are you laughing about?" And it turns out there were all these men, really older men, maybe 70s, 80s, who were out there doing calisthenics and real high energy. And he found that, humorous. It's also something to admire, right?
Yeah.
So we went up to Shlomo's suite, and there was a wonderful bunch of people, really nice people. And there was challah, which I just served to Johans. There was wine, honey, and candles. We participated. And then Shlomo says, "Why don't you come to Jerusalem tonight?" So we're in Tel Aviv. Tel Aviv to Jerusalem is about an hour. They're totally opposite cities. Tel Aviv is modern. Tel Aviv is Western. Tel Aviv is hip, whatever. And Jerusalem, is old, and it's oriented around, not everybody in Jerusalem is religious, but there's a higher percentage of religious people, and it's oriented around a lot more tourism and so forth. And he said, "We're going to the Wailing Wall." And so I thought, I don't know if I thought of this at the time, that the people who travel with the Grateful Dead, you know about that. People travel with the Grateful Dead. What do they call it? I mean, deadheads. There's another term for people who go with a band to just hang out. I forgot that. And so it was like that.
Groupies.
No, it's not exactly groupies, because they're not doing that. But those could be also. So he said, "Why don't you come to Jerusalem tonight?" And we're going to be at the Wailing Wall. What is the Wailing Wall? Well, it sounds like a place that you wail. You're pouring out angst, you're pouring out grief, not necessarily just for yourself or relatives, but for the Jewish people and Jewish history. And the tradition is to write a prayer on a little piece of paper and fold it up and put it in one of the cracks in between the bricks. And the Wailing Wall is the only surviving wall of the Second Temple, which was destroyed by the Romans and then was rebuilt, including by King Herod. The first temple was Solomon. That was destroyed by the Babylonians, and second by the Romans. So we've had a tough life in Israel. Anyway, the thing I love about the place, the Wailing Wall area, is not so much the wall, but it's a place where everybody gathers from all over the world. There's a huge plaza. It's a huge plaza, and there's a lot of energy going on. And Shlomo got out and played his guitar, and he's singing, and he sings these Hasidic type tunes, but that everybody can sing along with. Usually it's just, sound, la 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 la. No, not like that. Oh, I can't repeat it right now. But it's not words, not totally. And there's a lot of jumping around and clapping and everything. And so what happened actually, there's another page. But what happened actually was that we really fell in love with the scene. And then he invited us to a dinner right down the street, really, at a American-based kind of hippie yeshiva. And a yeshiva is a Jewish religious study place. And it was a residential thing. And I'd heard about it. It was called the Diaspora Yeshiva. And it was fun. It was like, there were about 30 people at this Shabbat dinner with Shlomo. So the thing about Israel, which you could see right away, is much more community, much more communal, which we talk about a lot here about third place. I would say that the Wailing Wall Plaza is the third place, because I used to run into, I went there over the years, not just that summer. I'd run into people that I hadn't seen in 30 years from all over the place. And everybody seems to do that. It's like Jewish geography central. So it's a third place. There's no entrance charge. You just show up, you know. And you can show up anytime, but especially on Shabbat. That's the things that really enticed me. And so I went back 6 more times.